Alright. I'm gonna touch on this, like putting up some videos while I'm reading or while I'm watching some stuff and catching up. So I can kind of do two birds at once thing. So I'm gonna keep posting kind of the same stuff over and over because I want to keep on railing on the same crap. You gotta hammer it, boom, 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 over and over again, so people know what needs to be done and what should be done. Um, you know, because when Republicans did their spiel, they talked about immigration, and they didn't just talk about it once and then move on to the next thing. They talked about it over and over and over again. They talked about it over and over and over again, and they're still talking about it. Okay, so this is my thing, and I think you'll like the title. First of all, I call it my Manifestione Moni. You like that, Luigi Mangione? Manifestione Moni. Right. You like it? Manifest? Luigi. Manifest. Luigi Mangione. Manifestione Moni. Like it? Love it? Get on board with the Manifestione Moni. Learn it. There's a lot of syllables in the Manifestione Moni. Like it? Okay. So first, we need to increase the tax rate back to the 1950s era level. When the Cold War was going on, they had a high ass tax rate. Everybody knew we had to beat the communists. And so everybody was willing to chip in. They viewed it as patriotic to chip in a shitload, especially the high middle class earners and above. They were willing to do it. They knew it was the patriotic thing to chip in uh, a big portion of their income. They were willing to do it. They viewed it as patriotic. They were a little annoyed about it, but they knew it was going towards good causes. And we need to do that. And federal incomes, that, and we can adjust the brackets, create new brackets for the incomes and the also all sorts of the passive incomes like the shit you get for stock dividends and the the um, the bonuses people get for um, end of year bonuses for being CEO, all that stuff. And the rich people, you will still earn way more money than you ever need. Um, Rich, you'll still get richer, right? So you don't need a bitch. You'll still be on top by a long shot. All right. So don't worry about that. It's not the time to bitch. All right. We need to. Yeah. I would say regain first place, but I think we're still in first place. I mean, we may not be in as much first place as we used to be, but we need to hold the title, so to speak, and that will make sure we're doing it by needing to initiate or whatever, need to set a new well series of initiatives like the New Deal proposals that will revitalize the infrastructure and the private and public jobs, and then grow those public and private jobs. Lots of Americans are, most of Americans are willing to do those jobs, especially if you set the incomes for those jobs, the lower tiers to the 60, 70, if percentile, you pay them good. You pay them good, whatever, and that means immigrants, let immigrants come. It's fine. Most immigrants are not going to do the things that are not going to be the boogeyman that you make them out to be. In fact, if you pay the jobs, if you pay them well, quite frankly, they'll snitch. They will snitch on the ones that are drug dealers and murderers and rapists. They'll gladly snitch if you pay them well, because they want the good money, they want the good jobs, they want their families to be safe, they want their families to come here, and they'll snitch. They'll work with the police, they'll work with the FBI, they'll work with immigration. Just like any native-born American would work with those enforcement bodies. If it's known and it's proven that, hey, I help them out, I get to stay here and keep my job and have my uncle come and get a job for himself and his family. His wife gets to come here safe, and his son, his daughter, they will come and be good Americans. It's about creating good incentives instead of bad incentives. They'll do it. And we need a massive restructuring, reformation of the education system to create those new labor pools, those new skills. There are many ways we can do that. I would suggest that essentially we get rid of first of all, kindergarten 1 through 5. You can change that a little bit so that gifted kids are recognized earlier and you play more to what they do. They should still learn all the skills everybody else needs to learn, and they do need to learn how to socialize and all that, but maybe do some stuff that will help them progress faster in something that they're good at, and also maybe allow them some choice if they like to do that, no matter the field. We need artists and writers, culturally gifted individuals, musicians, just as much as we need gifted mathematicians and engineers and scientists. Don't disrespect the arts, even though personally I can't recognize a good painting, really. It doesn't speak to me, even. I'm suggesting doing this, even though it doesn't really appeal to me. It still helps society, having good artists and good musicians. It's necessary for a society, especially a free society, to have that in, and have that in it, and have particularly gifted people in it. So do that, and continue that. expand that up through the higher level grades, and do that online more, have more online stuff, and people that love working with their hands and seem to have more hands-on stuff, put that in schools too. Bring back trade skills in the schools and have more ability to emphasize that. Because honestly, I think a lot of schools have taken like shop and stuff like that, shop, carpentry, plumbing, all of that stuff out of the classroom, when it would be good to have access to that for people that, for dumb kids. Maybe they're just not inclined to learn, algebra and calculus. Maybe they know some algebra and calculus, but they just don't know it in book form. They know it more with their hands and stuff. So there you go. So yeah, just restructure it so that it works a little bit more kind of intuitive and innate and gifted towards the way some kids might learn, something like that. I don't know. We need a universal healthcare system. We just need it. I mean, I don't know how to say it any more straightforward than that. And we need to train more doctors, nurses, every kind of paramedics, technicians, everything that's in the hospital. And we need to build the infrastructure to get all of the medical devices that will supply the hospitals. So it's pretty straightforward, I think. And I think to drive home the immigration thing, we can build a wall if we want. I don't think it needs to be super outlandish, but build a wall and have border checkpoints where there is an immigration checkpoint and people can come to it and they can get their IDs and their green cards so that they don't need to cross at fucked up places. And it's easy and it's clean, and people will know that they can get across easy there. So the people that are legitimate will go to those places. We'll still need patrols and everything for those who want to be, less than reputable. But I think if we have a much more transparent and lenient and welcoming border system and immigration process, you will find that you won't need as much resources devoted to guarding the wall. And like I said, the people that get by, their businesses will fail, because they'll snitch more. They'll have more snitches to deal with. And also the jobs that will be created in once defunct towns, they'll lose their business. They'll lose their what do you call it? They'll lose their economy, I guess. They'll lose their market of sales. We won't be able to sell if you can't sell the drugs that you bring over because everybody has a job and they don't want to do the drugs. Well, whatever. You know, your market is decaying over time. Then there's no market. They're gonna have to look elsewhere for a market. Um, and then there's another thing on here about better and more colleges and universities and the integration of online education and increased funding for military schools. I like the idea of having military schools uh, in the university system because I like the idea of having a larger military in the sense of the military being a free educational infrastructure for people where you can go into the military and volunteer and learn whatever skill you want. So you can go into the military and learn to be a doctor, for instance, and become a military doctor or pretty much any degree and serve in the military. And yeah, you can make more military universities, and especially for the coming era, learn you know cyber security and all that stuff, which the military is going to need. I think a lot more cybersecurity experts, and then maybe the CIA will be able to have more people to have a larger pool to recruit from. Because I think the CIA is going to need a lot more very expert level cybersecurity people to bring onto their staff. Same with the FBI. They need a lot more and a lot higher level people in the future. If some of the stories I hear from like 60 Minutes and shit are true, you're gonna need a lot better hackers. A lot better and a lot more. So really need to start thinking outside the box. One outside the box is just offer free education. There's free education for anything, and let the people choose what they want, and maybe they'll choose to do that. The last thing I think would be a great idea is we might need to wait until Trump gets out of office for this one. Have the U.S., Canada, and Mexico form a three-nation partnership, triumvirate kind of thing of trade and citizenship status, which could facilitate the ease of labor and goods movement. Kind of like the EU, what the EU has. So people would have, like American citizens would have primary citizenship in the United States, but they would also have like secondary citizenship in Canada and Mexico. So they could just, here's my ID at the border and just go. You wouldn't even need a passport or anything. You would just be able to go. I don't know if something like that already exists or not, but no passport, it just you would just be able to go and same thing with airports. I don't know, but a kind of free floating thing, and like you could move there and no one would give a shit. You wouldn't be subject to paperwork or any garbage about, well, you can be there for 3 years and then you have to reapply, or no, nothing like that. It's just you're good for life, you know, until maybe there's some kind of weird disbanding of the treaty, and hopefully once other countries in the Central America see that it's working fantastically, it's providing a lot of benefits. Maybe Central America would want to get in on that. So yeah, just some thoughts for politicians. It would require, I think, especially a very forward-thinking American leader to be willing to go out there and push heavily into the American people and also the Canadian people and the Mexican people and the leaders of both those countries to try and get something like that going under favorable terms for all three countries. A very fluid kind of system for something like that, and to be able to show the benefits of some kind of triumvirate alliance treaty not only could work, but could greatly benefit all three countries. Maybe even like a military alliance also. I don't know what would be something like that too, but you know, whatever. It's just a thought for people to think about. You know, a road to North and South American Union, something like that. If that would be something that would be doable, but whatever. So there you go. There's some things to think about, and as always, tax the rich people, kneecap them, and boobs, people, boobs, lots of boobs. All right, peace.